Hello to everyone. Welcome to the Pinfall podcast. I'm Liz. I'm going to try to pretend that I'm not looking directly at notes. And I'm here with my esteemed co-host, Smith. We hope that you're having a great Friday on this incredibly warm and balmy day. We're here basically to bring you insights into all the WWE matches that happen, all the WWE properties. So Smackdown, Raw, NXT, and also any of the events that happen, like Backlash, which is coming up this weekend or next weekend. And we're going to give you insights on news and gossip and stuff like that, and kind of give you our own relatively uneducated opinions on all of it. And I will also probably spend a lot of time talking about how much I think so many of the wrestlers are attractive. So to start us off, Mark, why don't you give us a little intro to who you are and your relationship with wrestling and all that?
If there's even a relationship to talk about. I mean, I just got into wrestling a month or two ago, like
3 months.
3 months, yeah. It's very short-lived, but still super into it. I was mildly into it growing up. I thought it was really cool. I tried to give it a shot when I was a kid, because one of my best friends growing up loved Sheamus a lot, so that was kind of where those seeds were kind of planted to begin with, but those seeds didn't really grow until 3 months ago. So
that's pretty much how I got involved in wrestling too. The town I grew up in was really into it. There was a lot of guys that I went to school with that were super high key into Sheamus and Steve Austin and John Cena. And I just remember seeing them being this feels ridiculous. I don't know what you guys are talking about, but it seems silly to watch a bunch of sweaty men fight each other. And then I started watching it more in college, and suddenly I was like, oh, there's quite a thrill in this, actually. We basically started getting really into it, I think, together shortly before WrestleMania. I think we and then moved into Raw, and then out of some form of desperation started watching NXT. Because it's every other day you get sports on when there's currently no sports. So we've definitely gotten a lot more into it, I think, recently. And now that we give the WWE $9.99 a month, I think we've gotten even more into it. So we are going to spend tonight recapping the Smackdown episode from tonight, from June 5th, 2020. I think the episode finished about 12 minutes ago. And it was one of those weird episodes, I think. It was one of those episodes where they're gearing up for a big match and a bunch of different stuff is happening, so a lot of it was promos.
Yeah, I mean, you had the whole Miz, John Morrison, Braun promo, which was the big promo of the event. And then you had Daniel Bryan and AJ Styles, which was prepping for their fight. You had Jeff Hardy and Sheamus, which is now going to be at Backlash, which we'll talk about more later. But then there was the fight between Alexa Bliss, Nikki Cross, and Bayley and Sasha Banks, which was its own thing.
It was something. It was definitely something. So tonight we started with Jeff Hardy. They recapped Hardy's car accident where he, I guess, murdered Elias. I'm still really torn on that. Basically, so tonight Jeff Hardy came out and yelled about how Sheamus set him up and how somebody saw a man with red hair and a red beard running from his car and setting all these getting alcohol all over him or whatever and planting things. So Jeff and Sheamus ended up fighting, which was absolutely wild.
Yeah, I think it was a good fight. It was decent, but it was so short. It was like most of the fight took place off of the stage. But I don't know. I'm still not sold on Jeff Hardy. Sheamus, I have no clue what they're trying to do with him right now besides turn him into a heel. And like, I don't know if they want Jeff Hardy to shine on his return or if they want him to just completely fall on his ass, which it seems like they want him to.
Yeah, I felt, first of all, Jeff, when he came out to talk, like, he was being so dramatic, and it felt like he was, like, coming out for some sort of Oscar. Like, with his whole monologue about how he came back from, like, all these problems. And that automatically was like, okay, all right, I guess we're doing this. But I don't know what they're trying to do with Sheamus right now. It seemed like they were, like, trying to turn him into a heel, and then Jeff came back, and, like, the whole point was, like, Sheamus just wants to prove himself on a grand scale, and he hasn't been given that opportunity in a really long time, because he's been fighting nobodies and, like, pinning them within, like, 5 seconds of, like, them entering the ring. But I think one thing that I really appreciate is that, like, they're really showing Sheamus using, like, absolutely brutal strength, and he's enjoying being a heel, I think. Or being hated for the most part, as it is right now.
I think he doesn't mind being a heel. He just wants to get the respect that he deserves, or that he thinks he deserves, and he thinks the only way to do that is by being a heel. Like, by being this savage brute that just can take down the big names like Jeff Hardy.
I also think that Sheamus has been around long enough now that, like, turn suddenly is, like, I think that's just, like, another par for the course for him. He's like, all right, everyone knows me, this doesn't matter.
Yeah.
But I think it is very smart of them to pair up Jeff Hardy, who vanished into the ether after being so massive, with Sheamus, who's been around for, I'd say maybe, like, what, at least 15 years now. And eventually in the episode they announced that Jeff and Sheamus are going to be back.
You're gonna have to say that again. Your audio cut out completely.
Great. Okay. Let me move my mic a little closer. Let's see. How's this? I was saying that I think that they announced that Jeff and Sheamus are going to be fighting each other at Backlash next Sunday, or not this coming, but the following. And I'm really excited to see how that goes, because it's these two, like, really old figures, I guess. Notable figures in WWE finally coming back together on the same night as Orton and Edge. So it's kind of got, like, a theme now.
Yeah, and then Braun and The Miz and John Morrison.
We'll get into that. That's, like, too much to handle. I do have some theories about Jeff and Sheamus and their whole thing, but I want to bring that up later when we talk about AJ Styles. Because I know you have some ideas of what actually happened, and I'm 100% not sold that Sheamus did a single thing wrong. But let's move on real quick and go on to the Otis and Mandy promo that turned into an Otis and King Corbin fight.
Yeah, I didn't see this fight coming at all. It was just pulled out of a hat. But, I mean, I think it turned out to be one of the best fights of the night, honestly. Seeing, like, two guys who are completely, like, unexpectedly fast and nimble fighting each other, I think it was pretty awesome.
I definitely think it was really awkward how they set it up. Because it was just like, oh, Mandy and Otis are walking, and Otis sees a crown, he takes it, and suddenly King Corbin and Otis are fighting. Like, that was never planned. But I I did really enjoy watching the fight for sure. I think it is very fun to like see someone who can finally kind of take on Otis like without kind of messing with him, just by like using strength. And King Corbin's just so fast and so strong and so nimble that he's a perfect match for Otis, and I never realized that. But I really, really, really want to see Corbin win a fight.
Yeah, he's been long overdue for a fight, especially after his loss to Drew McIntyre. He needs to beat somebody. And not only that, but he needs to beat somebody big. Somebody who really deserves to be beat. But I think what they're setting up is his sort of fall. Because did Otis and Mandy walk away with his crown, or did he get it back?
He had it at the end of the fight, like when he got disqualified. I don't know if he kept it though, after that point. But I guess when you say it like that, because I do think about how he went from Baron Corbin to King Corbin, I kind of see where you're going, I think.
Now he's going to become Emperor Corbin.
Oh, I thought he was going to become Pauper Corbin.
Or Peasant
like
Corbin.
Or a Jester. With like a little bells. I really do want to see him get a full fight. He felt really disjointed, I think, tonight. A lot of it, and I don't know if they were playing off the fact that he lost his crown and that may have like thrown him off, but he kind of seemed like a step behind Otis for the entire first half up until he started kind of gaining on Otis. The fact that he was able to drive himself, or rather drive Otis from the air into the mat, that was stunning. I was like, oh shit.
Yeah.
He's got muscles.
Also, everybody, stay tuned to the end of the podcast for what we will deem to be the fight of the night.
If we can agree on it, because we actually did not choose what we were going to say beforehand. But that was, I think this is like one of the, he's been disqualified several times now, I think, in matches.
Yeah, ever since like before Money in the Bank started.
And I feel like this is just like the WWE's way of being like, oh, we don't really know what to do here, so we're just going to keep letting people play like really dirty constantly. But yeah, I personally just, I was thrilled to see Corbin perform so well, but I was really hoping that he was going to win, because Otis has been winning a lot recently, and I feel like Corbin's not been at all.
Yeah, I think they're either gonna, I don't know, they might set up Otis to, because he still has to use his contract, they might set him up to lose his contract fight, because somebody is gonna like knock him down a size, or he's gonna beat somebody completely unexpected.
And I think it's hard with Otis because Otis is such a lovable character and a lovable guy that it's not quite like when we talk about like how like you think Drew McIntyre is going to lose his title because he's kind of getting cocky. You can't say the same thing for Otis. Otis is just kind of like having fun, enjoying his like new girlfriend and stuff like that. So I think it's hard to see where he's going to slip up. Also, the fact that Corey Graves called him King Mayonnaise the 8th when he had the crown on was painful but hilarious.
Yeah.
So you mentioned this earlier. Let's take a second to discuss The Miz and John Morrison. Just 1 second. You know, since that was fun little pranks that turned into crime.
Should we just talk about the first promo before we get into the rest of them?
I think let's just dive into all of the promos, because I feel like it's going to be weird if we kind of like jump around back and forth.
Okay.
Because it really does play out well as a whole storyline.
Gotcha. Okay.
So first of all, their sunglasses were ridiculous.
Yeah.
Their hey hey ho ho sunglasses.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like this is turning into like an early 2000s like teen hijinks movie with the two of them. Like, that's what it feels like all the time now.
Yeah.
And it works well for them. They're having fun.
Yeah. It perfectly fits their characters, and I think it's really the only way they can have Miz and John Morrison get close to beating Braun, unless they pull some kind of trickery at the Backlash during the actual match.
Yeah, I mean, Braun is a tank, so I don't know how they would win, but at the same time, you know, Braun isn't as nimble as John Morrison is. He doesn't have that kind of, like, ability to just kind of, like, bounce around. So I think they are somewhat well paired for that Backlash match, but I don't... The way that this evening's episode went, it feels like they're being set up to get their graves dug by Mr. Strowman.
I'm still firm in my belief that Bray Wyatt's going to come into the equation and join the Miz and John Morrison side, because A, we haven't seen Bray Wyatt in a while, and B, he's unhinged now. The Fiend is probably out loose, and the Miz and John Morrison stand no chance against Braun, because technically they both already fought him when Otis was alongside him, and I don't remember how that fight went, but it doesn't seem like they're completely... I don't know.
Otis and Braun ended up destroying John and the Miz.
Right.
But first of all, I don't think Bray is coming back anytime soon. He just had a child. So I feel like Bray's probably going to be gone until at least after Backlash. I am really looking forward to seeing him come back, but I do think that Braun is going to... He's got to have some sort of development, because he had a lot of, like, character development when Bray was still around, and now it's kind of just stopped because he's getting into, like, all these, like, hijinks with the Miz and Morrison. And also, one thing that I can't get off my mind at this point now is Braun tipping a van over. And unless, like, they place, like, some like, maybe they had, like, something on the other side of the van that helped him. But that was stunning. I should know that he's that strong. But watching him do it, I was like, I'm just going to believe it. I'm just going to take this at face value.
I just really hope the Miz and John Morrison were still inside when he did that, and that it wasn't just a separate set that they were inside.
Well, they were definitely inside when he was hitting the side, because you could see the LCD screen move. Like, you could see, like, the weird distortion on it. So I don't know if they were actually inside. I don't know if Vince would really risk his men like that, but also it is Vince McMahon, so... He would absolutely risk their lives. So we can come back to this later if you want, if we find that you missed anything that you want to talk about. But let's quickly move on to, because there's so much to cover. I've got like 4 pages of notes here. The little interview that we had with Shorty G that got very quickly taken off the rails because Mojo came back for the first time since I think WrestleMania. And that was pretty crazy, I think.
I mean, yeah. I was shocked to see Mojo there. But I'm liking this little rivalry between Cesaro, Shinsuke, and Shorty G. And
also the fact that, like, the New Day just were like, you know what? Let's just defend him. Who knows? Who knows what's going to happen here?
I guarantee that they were probably billed to fight the Forgotten Sons, and then Jackson Riker did his thing, and then they decided to cancel that fight and throw in the Shorty G.
And may we just point out, a very convenient glossing over of the Forgotten Sons altogether tonight, in spite of the fact that they've been on virtually every episode since their I guess, induction, if you will.
Well, we can't say they've been on every episode because they've just had minor appearances and, like, they've done their little intro every episode. So, I don't know. It seems like the kind of thing that they're leading up to something, but...
And now they can't because Jackson Riker decided to be a massive pile of human shit.
Yeah.
And his 2 tag team guys were like, no.
Yeah, going off of that real quick, there was some news today that, according to the higher-ups at WWE, Jackson Riker will not be fired, but rather there's been a lot of tension around, like, the locker room. A lot of the other wrestlers are very upset. And there's rumors that they might not be able to continue their gimmick.
Yeah.
Which kind of sucks for Steve Cutler and the other guy. I don't remember his name.
I never remember his name.
Isn't it Wesley Blake?
Yes, Wesley Blake.
Yeah, it sucks for those guys. But come on.
I think the thing, like, it makes sense that they're not going to fire him, I guess. And makes sense is used very loosely here, I guess, because I guess in theory a company can't fire someone because, you know, freedom of speech or whatever. Mm-hmm. Whether it's incredibly dangerous to say and stupid. But that being said, when I first saw that tweet, I think it was earlier this week, it was very... I immediately remembered the fight where they were paired up with The Miz and Morrison and had to fight Lucha House Party and the New Day. Mm-hmm. And we were all just sitting there like, that's a not smart choice, I guess. But it does really suck, I guess, for Steve Cutler and Wesley Blake. Thank you. It does suck for them, I guess, assuming they don't actually share the same viewpoints and weren't just trying to save face on Twitter. Yeah. Because I guess you can never really tell. And if they spend as much personal time as I imagine you have to spend with a tag team partner, it makes me kind of wary because, like, I feel like you have to see that sooner or later. Like, you can't just constantly be talking about the best way to pin someone or, like, your diets or something. I feel like that has to come up sooner or later. But assuming that they don't share those same beliefs and are opposed to those ideas, I think it really does suck for them. But at this point, in my opinion, the smartest thing that they can possibly do over at Smackdown is to just carefully remove Riker from the camera, I guess. Like, not have him be out there with Steve and Wesley, because at the end of the day, Steve and Wesley are still a tag team. It's still 2 people. They can still tag each other in. And it's still just as evenly matched as it would have been before, if not more evenly matched, because it's 2 people and not 3. So I think the only smart choice, and a choice that was granted to them, to the people at the WWE, is to just be like, you have to go over here. These 2 guys will still fight. They'll still do your whole shtick. Maybe we'll throw in some less polarizing words into their statements in the beginning, and that's that. Because it would be different if, like, it was 2 guys and one guy said something racist and ridiculous, but there's still 2 guys. It's still a tag team. You can still use them.
I mean, him saying what he said on its own, like, aside from his slogan, is one thing. But I could see them really punishing him for attaching the WWE brand to what he said, which, I mean, they legally can't fire him technically because of his political opinions. Yeah. But I don't know. We'll see. I'm hoping that they kind of cut the shtick. Or just shove Jackson Riker aside.
Yeah, and I think maybe stop having fights between the Forgotten Sons and like just the New Day, or the Forgotten Sons and the other white tag team versus a tag team of 2 black men and a tag team of 2 Latino men. You know,
unless it's intentionally done to make them villains.
Yeah, if they become heels suddenly, then fine. But
I think they are heels.
well, yeah, okay, yeah. So I guess if they become losers, I don't know. But it's kind of a shame because I know Big E never really directly said anything about it. I know he's been really vocal on Twitter about everything that's been going on. But most of the people who spoke out about it were either alumni of the WWE or they were from Raw. And I would give anything for Mr. Kevin Owens to come out and just smack Jackson Riker on TV. I would give the world to him. Because when he called him pathetic, I was like, at least someone's got the right idea.
I don't think Vince McMahon, lovely Vince McMahon, is gonna pit a fight just so one could kick the other's ass for an angry tweet.
I don't even know how much say Vince really chooses to exercise over what truly happens at SmackDown on a night-to-night basis at this point.
Yeah.
I think that's Stephanie now. Doesn't Stephanie control SmackDown? Anyways, let's not get too far off track because I know I could talk about this for the next 4 hours and the sun will come up and I'll be embarrassed. But so after we got to see Mr. Mojo call Shorty G a small man and make a lot of small people jokes about him, then we got to see one of my favorite fights from this evening, which was Lacey and Sonya, which I know is probably one of your favorite fights too.
You know, shockingly, no.
Oh.
I think the most interesting thing to come out of it was the ref getting weirdly injured. After what would have been a super sick move. I think it was Lacey just like kicks his shin and he falls over and just repeatedly says, what does he say? Like, get back.
Yeah, he was like, get back, get back. Because what happened was Lacey was on the other side of the ropes. Or
it was Lacey was on top of the buckle.
Yeah, Lacey was on the other side of the ropes. She flipped over Sonya's back.
Yeah.
To like I think she pulled her over herself, yeah. I guess. And then Sonya came down and kicked her legs out and like tapped the ref on the shin and he was like a past like soccer player or something.
Yeah.
Just like screaming.
And then it had no bearing on the fight. There was no change.
He just got
in
the
anything.
fun lady ref.
Yeah.
That was it. Which fine.
And Sonya
she's awesome.
Sonya got a cheap hit, which didn't affect anything because she still lost.
I think Lacey's shtick is just kind of getting a little tired.
I don't know.
I think it's just because it doesn't feel like she's a real person at any point. And not to say like Kim Corbin seems like a real person. It's just very like animated, I guess. And it doesn't seem like it's very complex emotionally. The fight that she had with Sasha and Bailey when they were like making fun of her daughter, that was like the most complex I think we've seen her. But one of the things I really liked about this match is that it was one of the most physical matches I think that we saw tonight.
You think
there was
so?
a lot of follow through. Like a lot of the hits seemed really solid. A lot of them, like, you know, they made a good noise. There was a lot of like punching and like you actually see the arm continue to move as opposed to just being like, which it seems like a lot of the men get away with a lot more than women do in the ring, which besides the point. But I am kind of glad that they finally brought back the Mandy and Sonya angle.
I was hoping they just move on from it, honestly.
They haven't moved on from Mandy and Otis, so I don't know why they would move on from.
Because
Sonya and Mandy.
he got the girl, like, Dolph.
But they were best friends, and then Sonya screwed it all up by being, trashy.
But going back to Lacey Evans, I think, now that I think about it, I think she's going to go back to the Forgotten Sons. Because back in their NXT days, she was, like, attached with the Forgotten Sons because, like, of her whole bombshell thing, and, like, how that whole shtick is, like, supporting the troops.
I'm looking this up because I want to see that.
And their whole thing is, like, veterans, you know, coming back from war.
Wouldn't that be so cool? Because, like, now that they're really trying to push the whole intergender wrestling matches, like, at least they did that on NXT last Wednesday. Wouldn't that be kind of fun?
Yeah.
If it was, like, a 6-person tag match with the 2 boys from the Forgotten Sons that we have yet to have to cancel, and some other team, because that'd be fun. I would enjoy that a lot.
Just replace Jackson Riker with Lacey Evans. There you go.
Can we think of a better trade? Honestly, it's like someone being like, "Here's some wet bread," or "Here's a nice steak." Like, I will take the steak. Get rid of the wet bread. But I'm kind of tired of the whole Sonya and Lacey thing. I don't really see much of a reason for it anymore.
It's all just because Sonya called or said on Twitter that blondes can't fight or something. It's such a dumb reason to have this drawn-out rivalry.
I think it does a lot for me personally, because Lacey's so fun and perky, and Sonya's so dark and cool, and personally I'm attracted to both of them. So when they're both in the ring, I'm like, ooh, I don't care who wins. I'm just happy.
I do think it's over now. I think their whole thing is over because they reintroduced Mandy into the mix. Unless
they try to do like a weird tag team thing with like Mandy and Lacey and Sonya versus them in some way.
Blondes versus brunettes. Who would they have fighting alongside Sonya?
What if they got Bailey?
Oh.
After like Sasha inevitably leaves her. If that ever fucking happens.
It's been long we've been waiting too long.
So, real quick, let's they teased Matt Riddle again. Because now he's part of Smackdown and no longer in NXT. But they keep teasing him with no payoff. We have absolutely no clue how he's going to be useful. You said that you think he's going to maybe fight Drew Gulak.
Yeah, I think they're going to start off having him fight somebody who's on the same sort of fighting style as him. And Drew Gulak is a very technical fighter. It's a very realistic fighting style alongside Matt Riddle's UFC fighting style. I think that would be a good matchup. Or I don't know.
I'm excited for him. He's like, he gives me hardcore like California suburbs douchebag vibes, but like in a very lovable way. He just seems like he's like, I'm having fun. It doesn't matter. But in spite of the fact that he's having so much fun, watching him fight Timothy Thatcher was like, it was so real.
Yeah.
I love that. And I want to see that kind of like energy come to SmackDown, because I think SmackDown's starting to run out of things to do a little bit with the quarantine and the fact that they've got a lot of people that aren't there, like a lot of big names like Roman's not there and stuff like that. Bray's not there anymore. So I think that Matt Riddle is a very good excuse to draw a lot of attention and excitement.
I think a good person for him to fight is somebody who needs to be brought down to size, because he is somebody. I mean, every intro he has I think it's Corey Graves or the guy on NXT. Like, don't judge him by his cool demeanor. Like, it's this whole thing of like, he's this, like, you can't judge him by his appearance, you know?
Yeah.
I think he's going to fight somebody who is really strong, but needs to be brought down because they completely underestimate him. Somebody like a Sheamus or...
That's what I was going to say.
A King... No, not King Corbin. King Corbin needs to come up.
Give him something.
Or... yeah.
I think the way you put that is kind of smart, because I know that they were talking... I read a couple articles where they were saying, you know, Matt Riddle's a great fighter and all, but they don't know how they're going to use him, and they basically, like, his first appearance needs to be something grand, because if it's not a lot of people know him well enough to care enough.
Yeah.
I guess it sounds cold, but that's what the article said. Personally, I care the world about him, but basically they said, like, he needs to make a name for himself in the Smackdown brand immediately. Like, the moment his first fight has to be something amazing. And I think for him to fight a Sheamus, even though I don't want to see Sheamus lose or look worse than he's been looking because of the whole Jeff Hardy thing, I think if he fought a Sheamus, or even, honestly, even if he, maybe after Daniel Bryan, well, if Daniel Bryan wins the Intercontinental Championship, maybe he'll challenge him, because they are both really technical fighters.
I'm also thinking maybe Braun. Braun might be a good opponent, because Braun's not used to that kind of fighting style, and I think that fighting would be perfect for somebody much bigger than him. And nobody's going to take Matt Riddle seriously. If he took down Braun, that would be making a huge name for himself. And like, would be his perfect introduction into the SmackDown roster, and especially if it happens right after Backlash. Yep.
I agree. I really I want to see him be as big in SmackDown as he appeared to be in NXT. We didn't see him that much, because we only started watching NXT, I think, like a month ago. But I want to see him be just as big, because he's crazy talented and kind of scares me. Also, he's so attractive. He's so cute. So let's move on to your fights. So we started this fight with Daniel Bryan and Mr. Styles talking to each other, and Daniel Bryan, I'm so in love with him. He's so sweet looking. He looks so gentle, and like the whole time he's standing there listening to AJ, he's like, and then it's his turn. He just like went off into the stratosphere. So I want to talk about, first of all, that intro, and then that fight, because both were kind of exciting. I was not that excited about this pairing or this like matchup until I think about now.
Yeah, it's the conflict between one guy who is trying really hard to be the number one. He's like putting his heart into being the greatest of all time, and then somebody who thinks he deserves to be the greatest of all time, somebody who thinks he's entitled to it. And
somebody who forgot that he got buried by the Undertaker like at WrestleMania and was terrified of it, but
so I think just going off those motives alone just says that Daniel Bryan's going to win. Like, you can't have AJ Styles win that. And I love the little line Daniel Bryan threw in when he said, like, he's like, AJ Styles is going to have a very, very few amount of people challenge him for that title. Just a very select few. Those who he thinks deserves it. And then Daniel Bryan will have anyone at all challenge him for that title. Which, after just that comparison, how do you think AJ Styles is going to win?
Yeah, I mean, Daniel has consistently been such a, I don't really know how to put this, I guess, like a very genuine character in the sense that there's been very few times, or if ever, that I've watched him and been like, oh, his motives are like a little self-serving here. Like, he just seems to be out there to win, and then in turn, I guess, almost help the other people that he wants to see win. And I think that, like, even going back to like last Smackdown episode where like Sheamus was yelling at him and he's just standing there kind of like holding in a smile and then just kicks him in the shin. Like, it's so small, but he's so fun to watch because, again, I love watching the technical wrestlers. I think I feel like I'm actually watching like a fight. Mm-hmm. And as much as like AJ Styles' intro music, by the way, is like very fun. I really like that. But his attitude is so bogus. And it's just funny for someone to like watch someone who opened a door in the WWE building to like the Undertaker's like secret hiding place or whatever it was at Money in the Bank, and like be trembling in his boots to all of a sudden be like coming out there like, well, I deserve this and like blah blah blah. It's like, did I miss something?
Yeah.
Did something happen? But that brings me to wondering what you think. Do you actually think that Sheamus was the one who screwed over Jeff Hardy?
No, definitely not. I mean, they're setting it up to be like some big like reveal. They even I think in some promos they said like the truth will be revealed sometime soon. It's not going to be Sheamus. Sheamus, it's not in Sheamus's character. It's not something he'd do. Second, it's just it's a huge assumption on Jeff Hardy's part. And there was no kind of reveal to it. It was just Jeff Hardy came out and was like, you did this, and gotten a few punches, and that was it. I think it's either AJ Styles or Daniel Bryan. It's definitely in AJ Styles' character, but I think if they want to go for a big reveal, they're going to go for Daniel Bryan.
If they do make it Daniel Bryan, I'll probably have to cry. Like I will take a shot if it's Daniel Bryan, because I genuinely do not believe that. But personally, because I mean, the only thing we have to go off is like the witnesses at the scene said that it was a guy with red hair and a red beard.
Yeah.
First of all, who were the witnesses? And if one of the witnesses was AJ, then okay. But
wait. That makes me think.
What?
Maybe it was. I mean, it's definitely sounds like somebody trying to frame Sheamus, but that means whoever did it was different from the witness that they talked to who's trying to frame Sheamus. You know? So it's more than one person trying to do this. So if it's AJ Styles doesn't even have a cohort. It could be like Cesaro and Shinsuke, or I don't know, but that's what I'm thinking right now. That
I think I'm just going to say that I think ultimately, if you're going from that point of view, then you have 12 potentials, being the 12 guys that were up for grabs in the Rumble the other night. Personally, as I have said many times very vocally, there's no way in my head, even if that's how the WWE ends up putting it, there's no way I will ever accept that it was Sheamus that did it. Because Sheamus, first of all, never has ever sold himself as someone who would play that dirty to win. Because anytime, even with the matches where he would pair it up against some poor, it seemed like some NXT trainee that just got thrown into the ring with him and like scared shitless. There was never a time where like he did anything like, you know, Shayna Baszler like stomps on people's elbows. He never did anything like that. It was always like a fair fight. It just wasn't fair because he was so big.
Yeah.
So I can't imagine for the life of me that it was him. That's already out of my head. Because if it was him, then that was stupid because now he's still not in the running. So.
And I don't think WWE would miss an opportunity to gain more viewership by setting up this big reveal, you know? With that said, yeah, I don't know. I
think it was AJ.
I know Sheamus didn't do it. I think we can all agree on that. AJ is a good contender, but that's like the safe choice. That's like if the creative team at WWE is having a bad day and they just want to give it the laziest option it can be.
I feel like it's a classic choice because like they're holding out on saying, oh, it was definitely AJ. Like they haven't shown you any proof. They haven't shown you any like real proof that it was Sheamus, but they also haven't shown you any proof that it was AJ. The only reason that they're assuming it's Sheamus is because Jeff Hardy hates Sheamus, and therefore, who else would he immediately go after? Like, you did this to me. It makes sense.
I'm just thinking along the lines of like, and hear me out here, the lines of like a Scooby-Doo episode. So, in every Scooby-Doo episode, there's the guy that they pin it on, or the guy that the victims pin it on, which in this case is Sheamus. And then you have the obvious candidate, who in the moment seems very obvious, which is AJ Styles. At that meeting, he just immediately wanted to go to the finals, and that was it. The very reasonable choice that any viewer would pick. And then you have that one person who is the very unexpected choice, but then you start to connect the dots, like, from episodes upon episodes upon episodes, who would want Sheamus to go down? Because this isn't Jeff Hardy going down, this is Sheamus going down. Who has Sheamus been antagonizing?
Are you accusing Jeff Hardy, sir?
No, I'm not accusing Jeff Hardy. I'm accusing,
okay.
maybe Michael Cole did it.
Michael Cole or Corey Graves, because he has intimidated both of them on a constant basis.
But no, Michael Cole has been terrified every single time Sheamus comes out.
Because Sheamus is so big.
But no, like, do you get what I'm saying? Like,
I do. I mean, I feel like with this explanation, though, I feel like the backlash match between him and like Jeff is gonna have like a Saw style like rewinding of all the events. Like, this is how you know him, and this is how you know him, and this is what happened. It's like,
do you think this could go hand in hand with revealing who the hacker is?
maybe.
I mean,
I feel like if they told us who the witness was, then we would have a better idea. And I feel like there's a reason they haven't told us who the witnesses were. Because obviously the witnesses had to be somebody in the WWE. They were at the training center.
They're probably, like, we're probably completely overestimating the creative minds behind WWE. But also, like, there's probably going to be, like, some minuscule piece of evidence at the scene in, like, the background. Like, we're going to see some character, like, peeking around the corner during a recap that we never saw.
I don't think that you should shame the creative side of the WWE. I mean, obviously, like, they've done a great job as far as, like, there are definitely some people that, like, they kind of don't work as hard on, I guess. But this whole story, the fact that you and I have been going on and on about this, not just right now, but outside of this podcast, the fact that we've been going on and on about this shows that clearly they're doing something right, because neither of us have agreed on who it is, and it's not obvious. And I think the payoff will absolutely either be at the Intercontinental match or at Backlash. I think those are the only two options.
What if it was Drew Gulak?
It would not be Drew Gulak.
he would want Daniel Bryan to get to the finals. He wants to help his boy out.
But if he wanted Daniel Bryan to get to the finals, then he would have been like, hey, Daniel, I'm going to do this thing. Or, like, he would have at least encouraged him to not...
But that would leave a paper trail, you know?
But he would have encouraged him to not be like... Drew's been training this guy for, like, however long. He should know that Daniel Bryan's not going to just be like, yeah, I'm going straight to the finals. I don't care about anyone else. Like, that's not Daniel Bryan. After his whole speech... If it's Daniel Bryan, I'm going to be really upset, too. Just as upset as I would be if it was Sheamus.
I mean...
There's only one way I'm going to be happy, and that's if it's Mr. Styles.
The whole trying really hard to be the number one could all be a facade. But also, I think Michael Cole did it.
Okay. I can agree with that. Or, like, Corey Graves. I'll go with either of those.
It was both of them. Michael Cole was the one who drove the car into Elias, and Corey Graves was a witness.
Corey Graves was the one that poured alcohol over Jeff Hardy's body.
Yeah.
In a red wig and a red beard, though.
Yeah.
So, on that note, we were then treated to a wonderful fight between Mr. Styles and Mr. Gulak.
Mm-hmm.
Which, that couldn't have gone any better than I expected it to. That was amazing.
Yeah.
That was perfect.
I mean, especially right after when we thought, or when Drew Gulak was supposed to be leaving the WWE and his contract expired, the fact that we got that fight was just phenomenal. I think I've always been a fan of Drew Gulak's fighting. I think he's one of the best fighters that the WWE has. Against AJ Styles, maybe one of the best heels that WWE has. I think that fight was definitely a perfect lead into this final.
So it's funny you bring it up because when we both found out that Drew was suddenly leaving, quote unquote, it made his fight with Daniel Bryan just so much more painful.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And then when he came back, because also Drew was part of the fight, the Rumble. Mm-hmm. If you don't remember,
yeah,
he was part of that. So unless there's like some weird sabotage thing angle that they're going with here, where he like was like, I want to be Daniel Bryan. Sorry, I don't mean to go back to this, but now that I'm remembering it. But I just remember like when all of a sudden people were like, oh wait, no, we saw Drew at the training center. So he can't have left because he was in the middle of filming. So that doesn't make sense. And then Drew Gulak was like, yeah, I never left. I don't really know what anyone was talking about there.
I mean, but I think he said on the stream or something he just wanted a raise.
Oh, was that what he said?
Yeah, he was trying to argue a raise with them.
I thought he just said like, no, I never intended to leave at any point. I don't know why people thought I was leaving. And I was just sitting there like, well, because they put you in the alumni section, Drew. That's probably why. I
mean, everybody's contract expires, and I'm sure they do that as a failsafe. But yeah. He did say he just wanted a raise.
But going back to what we were talking about, he is one of the most entertaining people to watch, I think, personally, just based on like style. And getting to watch him against AJ was thrilling for multiple reasons. The first being Daniel Bryan's like love for his friend is so heartwarming. The way that he's just like cheering him on like a proud father.
Yeah.
On the side of the ring. I was there like, I need a friend like that. But and like the way they hugged afterwards, I was like, buddies. But getting to watch, first of all, because, you know, as they said on the broadcast, Gulak is really good at the at submission fighting. Yeah. He's really good at getting people into like very uncomfortable positions. And if there is one thing I love more than anything as a finishing move, it is the German suplex. That was, like, first of all, getting to watch Aleister Black do it last week, I think was perfection. And then getting to watch Drew do it, it's amazing. I love that move. That's one of my favorite moves, because then they get up on their tippy toes, and like I don't know how you can possibly break out of that, considering all the force that goes back in the back bend.
Mm-hmm.
It's just, that's one of my favorite moves, and getting to watch that with a character I hate and a character I adore.
Yeah.
I'm
hoping we get to see more Drew Gulak. I hope they give him an actual story besides just Daniel Bryan's coach.
They came close to it.
Did they?
Well, yeah, because like back when like there was that feud and like Daniel and Drew weren't like working together, and Drew was trying to like convince him to be like, come back to me, like we can be friends, we can do this together. I think that was the closest that we personally, as more recent full-time viewers, got.
Mm-hmm.
And I think by the way, I think we were lucky that we started watching it just at the beginning of the pandemic, because I think a lot of storylines started changing right at the beginning of the pandemic.
Yeah, because a lot of wrestlers left.
I think we kind of got in on like page 1 of the new book.
Can we go back to the Jeff Hardy Elias thing? I have a new theory.
Okay.
I have a feeling they're going to do something completely stupid and be like, whoever drove the car, Elias wasn't his target. Whoever was his target walked by a little quicker than Elias, and so Elias was unfortunately the victim.
I don't know what Elias did to Vince McMahon or any of the McMahons or anyone in like Smackdown, but they hate him.
He gets his ass beat. The most he's come to winning anything is beating Corbin for the Intercontinental Champion, and he was screwed out of that. And also knocking Corbin off of the ladder of Money in the Bank. He's only beaten Corbin. That's it.
This person. And Shinsuke, remember when he threw Shinsuke into the piano and Shinsuke was like broken?
Oh, that was I've tried to forget that day.
That was a bad day. Shinsuke was like,
that piano was like supposed to break or something, but
it did it. That was solid as a rock.
Anyway, back to Drew and AJ.
Yeah, I mean, I don't have too much more to say about it, I guess, but like I really do want to see Drew have maybe not even like so much a storyline as just like him and Daniel kind of just being together again, because we had the storyline where, again, as I mentioned before, Drew and Daniel were like on the outs and like they weren't talking, and I think Drew was coaching Gronk, if I'm not mistaken, if I haven't forgotten. Time flies weirdly now. But I think Drew was coaching Gronk, and Drew was like, hey, if you want, I'll come back to you, Daniel. I'll come back, Mr. Bryan Danielson.
I hate that that's his name. Bryan Danielson and Daniel Bryan. That is so
perfect.
Dumb.
I feel like he was just like, let's just flip some stuff around. No, I don't care.
That seems like a very spiteful decision on his part.
But I think he definitely deserves more. But I think it also comes down to like what, because obviously we don't know this, but like what he wants to do, because maybe he really just wants to be on the sidelines coaching Daniel right now, like how MVP was like, I don't want to produce stuff that much anymore, I want to be a character again. So I mean, as much as we want to see it, who knows?
Maybe Elias getting his ass beat every episode is his decision as opposed to Vince McMahon's.
Do you think Elias is actually hurt, by the way?
I think he's hurt internally. I think he's got severe depression and just takes it out on himself.
I worry that he's actually like, he was actually injured at some point recently.
Elias was driving the car.
Imagine Elias was the guy all along.
Oh god.
But let's quickly move on, because I think we've been talking about this for like at least 20 minutes now. I also do, because this is next to my notes somehow. So the Miz and Morrison committed a crime tonight also. Prior to Braun flipping their van.
Yeah, those glasses. What a crime.
Yeah. I thought it was so funny because, like, it was very clear that Braun was like, yeah, you can use my car, but you can't damage a single thing outside of the goddamn windshield, I swear.
No,
that anything else.
That definitely wasn't his car because, I mean, yeah, the windshield was damaged, but also glass pieces flew inside of the car.
Can't you just vacuum that?
It's probably... I'm sure Braun drives a rental anyway.
No, he probably lives in Florida. They all live in Florida right now.
Not the Miz.
Yeah, well, the Miz runs a very strange schedule where I think he has to, like, fly every Friday.
Yeah.
But it was just funny because I was like, oh, they're playing little pranks on him. Like, that sucks for, oh, what's her name? Was it Carly? Is it Carly? I wrote it down. The paint. That's all I'm talking about is the paint. Kayla's her name. I was like, oh, they're like pulling fun pranks, and all of a sudden they're like, let's cause property damage. I was like, oh. Somehow you guys are still like adorable while you're doing it, but oh, whoops.
You know, I think them after seeing Braun lift that van is gonna scare them.
Oh yeah.
I think they're gonna turn to an unlikely ally to make it a 3-on-1. And you know the name I'm gonna say.
Don't say Bray. It's not gonna be Bray.
It's gonna be Bray. It's gonna be Bray.
Not.
Seth Rollins is having a kid, and he's been wrestling and setting stuff up. I think
his child is 5 months away, Mark. Bray's child was born like 4 weeks ago.
Yeah, he's already 4 weeks into it. He can dip. He can go for filming an episode.
Okay, Shayna. Sure.
I think it's gonna be Bray. You can quote me on this. You guys can quote me on this. It's gonna be Bray.
All right. As I said before about if Sheamus or Daniel Bryan are the people involved in this scheme with Jeff Hardy, I will take a shot if it's Bray Wyatt that they turn to. Okay, I will do that for you because I think you're crazy.
And you'll do it on camera too.
Sure, absolutely.
During the podcast happens, you'll do it.
Yes.
Okay, cool.
I'll probably also cry, so it'll be fine. So after Miz and Morrison caused property damage, we had the 6-man tag team match with the New Day and Shorty G and Shinsuke, Cesaro, and Mr. Mojo Rawley.
Mm-hmm. Kind of a weird 6-man tag team.
It felt very pieced together, that's for sure.
Yeah, not a bad fight. It was pretty good. Mojo was unexpectedly great.
I wonder if like maybe they did plan for like a different match.
Yeah.
Because Mojo, again, he just came back from, like, this is the first time I think we've seen him since WrestleMania. And Shorty G came out of quite literally nowhere at the Rumble. Because suddenly he was just like, I'm back. I'm here. Hey, guys. Mm-hmm. I was like, okay, sure. I am noticing this, and I'm really loving it. I am enjoying the freedom that they're giving Cesaro. I feel like they're giving him more of a personality as opposed to just like some European douchebag. Because it seemed like he was just kind of like snooty for like a little while. But now all of a sudden he's getting to play dirty, and I love that. Unfortunately,
I think that's due to Sami Zayn leaving, and now that Shinsuke and Cesaro don't have Sami as their manager, somebody needs to take the reins, and I think that person's Cesaro. Which, yeah. It's working out, but what happens when Sami comes back?
If Sami comes back.
Isn't he just gone for the coronavirus?
He is, but he left on really weird terms, it seemed. Considering he was still... I mean, again, we started watching as the pandemic got really bad. Because I think we started watching shortly after I started working from home, if not right before. And because we started watching in March, and Sammy was still around because we saw him.
Yeah, Sammy was definitely around when we were watching. He was around for a while, and then all of a sudden he just wasn't there.
Yeah. I can't remember if he was in WrestleMania or not, now that I think about it.
No, he wasn't.
Okay.
Oh, wait, yes, he was, because he came out to that ska music.
Yes, and that was super cool.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, God, I love that. That was a great entrance.
He wrestled somebody. He actually wrestled somebody at WrestleMania. I forget who it was, but it was just him. Cesaro and Shinsuke did not fight, although they might have, like, pulled some stuff from the sidelines, but it was mainly Sammy. Oh, wasn't it Sammy versus MVP or something? No, that would make sense.
Oh, wasn't it? It was Daniel Bryan.
Was it?
Yeah. He beat Daniel Bryan for the Intercontinental title.
Okay.
Yeah. And that was super cool. Also, the fact that Sami Zayn can beat Daniel Bryan is...
Well, did he beat him?
Yeah, I think so. I don't think that was a really dirty fight, because I know we watched it, and I was pretty drunk, so...
Okay.
I would have definitely had words to say for my birthday twin.
Okay.
But I'm really enjoying seeing Cesaro getting to take more of an active role, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
And I think you're right, because Shinsuke doesn't seem to be as extroverted, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
Understandably. But I'm starting to come around to him. I know I've said a lot of mean things about Shinsuke over the course of time, but I don't think that the WWE is doing a lot to make him someone you want to watch. I know I've seen like a lot of articles, especially recently, saying that they aren't doing a lot for his character at all.
Yeah, I think we started watching at the wrong time to be supporting Shinsuke.
Yeah, because he was big when he started.
He was really big. Yeah, he was massive in Japan. I think he was big when he started in America. But since then, he's just become some lackey for Sammy.
Yeah. I think the most we got out of him was Cesaro, or the match with him and Cesaro versus Elias.
Yeah.
That was probably the most that we've actually seen him do anything recently. And even then, he got brutalized.
Yeah.
So, it was a weird match for sure. I was actually very worried for Kofi at first, because it did look like he was kind of injured. The way he landed on his knee on the ground there.
Yeah.
That did not look good.
But I'm sure the floor around the ring is padded as well, considering a lot of stuff happens there, and it looks padded too.
True.
But
there's a cat here.
I can tell you're petting something. I don't know. There didn't seem too much interesting stuff about that fight. I mean, I think Shorty G was a highlight of it. He was really great against like bigger opponents like Mojo and Cesaro.
As much as I hate him, yeah.
Biggie was good. He didn't really shine though. Kofi basically fell on his ass intentionally. But Shorty G really shined that fight, and I think it's intentional because he just came back. He needed a fight to shine, and he just got it.
I mean, again, exactly what they should be doing with Matt Riddle.
Yeah.
Which actually, maybe that's a good person for him to fight.
Nah, he's not big enough for him to fight.
I think definitely, as much as I've been like, oh, I don't like Shorty G, he's kind of annoying. And he also, I think I hate him because he looks like a lot of guys I went to like school with growing up. I feel like a lot of the soccer guys in my school that I did not like, I feel like he reminds me of them. So I think that's why I don't like him. But he did show a lot of like, he's very compact. Like, he's very compact and he's very, like, dense.
Mm-hmm.
And the way that he was able to take on, like, Cesaro and Mojo, and at the end when he was holding both Cesaro and Shinsuke back from, like, going into the ring, that was stunning. But the way that Mojo knocked Kofi into midair, oh my god. It was like a truck.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like at this point, Big E and Kofi have just been kind of sidelined. They don't feel like headlining fighters at this point.
Yeah.
I want to see them more in the spotlight, and maybe they're waiting until they can introduce Xavier Woods, because maybe that's really close to happening, and they want a headline with Xavier Woods' return.
I think the problem right now is that it seems like all the male tag teams are, besides the New Day, are either distracted or not people you can put on TV right now. Because the Miz and Morrison are fighting a 2-on-1 with Braun. Tucky hasn't been back for a while, and I'm sure that's probably because of coronavirus.
Jimmy Uso's injured.
Jimmy's injured, so it's just Jay. And the Forgotten Sons are
in a bind, let's just say.
Yeah. So I feel like they're in... I don't think that they would be in this position right now, fighting a 6-man tag match, if it weren't for the fact that Forgotten Sons did what they did, or Jackson Ryker did what he did.
They're still Lucha House Party.
Where are they? They were around for a while. What happened to them?
Sidelined just like the New Day, except the New Day are getting screen time.
Ooh. I mean, I wouldn't mind seeing the two of them fight, but at the same time, most of the fights that we've seen between Lucha House Party and the New Day have been three-way tag matches, I think, because it's been like them and Liz and Morrison, or four-way and it's them, Miz Morrison, Forgotten Sons.
Yeah, because I feel like the Lucha House Party is just like a side team. Like they come in multiple tag team fights and show off some nice moves, but then get their asses beat.
I don't want to say that they're like a side team, because like they've been pretty. I mean, even back when I was watching in college, I remember them being pretty big. So I think saying that they're a side team doesn't do them a lot of justice. I think it's really the fact that they. I just don't think that they have anyone that they can fight right now. I don't think that they have a lot of options. I think that's the problem, is that there's no one. I don't know how good a fight between Lucha House Party and the New Day would be. Just because there's been very few times where they've been really paired against each other. I think Kofi has the springiness that would help fight Lucha House Party, but I just don't think that they have anyone right now. And I think that they really need someone, because frankly, I think Lucha House Party is one of the most entertaining tag teams that you could be watching.
Yeah, maybe they'll be on Raw backing Rey Mysterio, and we'll just have like a slew of luchadors just backing Rey Mysterio against Seth Rollins, like Lucha House Party, Rey Mysterio's son, El Hijo de Fantasma.
That's NXT.
He'll come on Raw just for one, just like how Charlotte Flair floats between all of them. El Hijo de Fantasma. Well,
you've forgotten the most important one, Humberto.
He's not a luchador.
But he's there for Mr. Mysterio, and you know that. Him and Alistair
right, yeah, then throw
Mysterio for a while.
Throw Alistair in there. It'll be
honorary luchador, Alistair Black.
It'll be all these average height Latinos, and then you have Alistair.
Oh, my skinny little man.
Just like standing above the whole crowd of luchadors. This tower.
No, he can sit cross-legged.
Yeah.
That'll be his thing.
On top of Seth Rollins.
Please. Well, we can get into that on Monday because that's like my favorite thing to talk about. If I don't see Dominic Mysterio come out at some point on Monday, I'll probably scream.
He's gotta. They set him up on last Monday.
Dominic is ready to tear Seth Rollins' man bun off of his head. And I am frankly so excited to watch while Aleister Black stands by just like rising from his little grave.
Aleister's gonna like take Dominic in his arms and hurl him at Seth Rollins.
He can be a jumping board for all of them.
For those familiar with comics, it'll be like Wolverine and Colossus. I forget what the move's called, but yeah, he'll be throwing him like a human cannonball.
I don't know anything about comics, so I feel a little joke. So we got to watch Kofi pin Mojo, which was...
Wait, was it Kofi pinning Mojo, or is it Shorty G pinning Mojo?
No, Kofi pinned Mojo while Shorty G held Cesaro out of the ring.
Right, because the camera wasn't really on Kofi doing that. They were focused on
all of them.
Yeah.
So after that, we had obviously Miz and Morrison getting tipped over in a van, and then of course we had Jeff Hardy and Sheamus announced at Backlash, which I didn't see coming, but I am so excited for. Oh my god, this is why I pay $9.99 a month, because this is like the best like 2 weeks for wrestling, because we had Monday Night Raw, Wednesday night NXT, Friday Smackdown. This Sunday we've got NXT TakeOver. Then Monday we've got Raw again. And then Wednesday we've got NXT again. And then Friday we got Smackdown again. And then Sunday we've got Backlash.
We are not paid to endorse WWE in any way whatsoever. Sorry, Vince.
That being said, since this is the only thing that brings me joy anymore, I'm having an every other day high and then an every other day like depression low. But that's fine. So that being said, I will probably be very drunk for our podcast after Backlash. I'm going to be very honest about that.
But then we have NXT TakeOver this coming Sunday.
I'm really excited for NXT TakeOver. I want to see Adam Cole win, and I want to see Velveteen Dreams lose so pitifully.
I just want everyone watching to be aware that I'm not so into NXT, so I probably will be less vocal then.
See, that's the beauty of my Gemini nature, is that I watched one episode of NXT and then suddenly I knew everything about NXT because I spent the entire episode looking everything up. So I know at least 12 things. Enough to keep a podcast going for an hour. Anyways, so.
Last fight of the day.
Last fight, worst fight.
Worst fight?
That was a play on Sheamus's workout videos, his workout training videos, because his thing is last set, best set. Unfortunately, tonight it was last fight, worst fight, because I was I'm so mad. Well, I've never been this angry before.
Here's
until Drew loses his fucking title, I will not be this angry.
Because we've been dancing around what the fight's been. It was Alexa Bliss and Nikki Cross versus Sasha Banks and Bayley. Here's
the tag team title for women.
Yeah, Alexa Bliss and Nikki Cross lost the women's tag team title to Bayley and Sasha. But here's my thoughts. Nikki Cross has been much less aggressive in the ring than she used to be.
No. Sorry. I don't want to interrupt you here. They are getting into her head. She's been, because last time they fought the Iconics, I think it was, I don't remember who it was, but someone was saying, one of the announcers was saying, Nikki Cross has been really erratic. She hasn't been very useful in the ring for Alexa. and like all this like nasty stuff. And I feel like we'll get into this later, or not later, but like as like we talk about this, but it feels like they're unnecessarily discrediting her in a fight that does not warrant any sort of discrediting for Alexa Bliss and Nikki Cross.
Yeah. The last thing I want to see is them break up, because they're one of my favorite women's tag teams.
If they break up before Sasha and Bayley do,
they've been setting that up for so long.
I'm being teased by it. I want it.
But I think Nikki has been what has been dragging down their tag team for a while, because did they lose to Iconics last Monday?
Yes, they lost to Iconics, but I think when you consider the fact that their last few big fights have been between them and the Iconics and them and Bayley and Sasha, and these are two teams that play incredibly dirty. I mean, Bayley was fighting ringside all of tonight. Anytime that Bayley, I said Bayley, didn't I?
Mm-hmm.
Nikki was fighting ringside all night. Like when Alexa was in the ring with Sasha, Bayley would be stopping Nikki would be stopping Bayley from like jumping in the ring like illegally,
mm-hmm.
like they love to do. And it drives me insane because they made Nikki look so bad tonight. Yeah. And they've been making her look so bad when they were dealing, especially tonight, considering the fact that it does not seem like they have let Sasha and Bayley win a fight without cheating in a long time. The fact that like Nikki fought so hard tonight and like had a lot of really good moves. I mean, the way she like, remember when she like basically kick flipped Bayley?
Mm-hmm.
Like that was amazing. But it just, the fighting dirty really made her look like crap.
I think they're going to have them crash and burn hard because they now have two titles. Bayley has the women's champion, women's Smackdown champion title, and then Sasha, and then both of them have the women's tag team title. So I think they're going to lose both of those hard, and that might cause their split. Because now they're not going to split when they both have the title.
Fair. I don't think that this is going to cause a rift between Alexa and Nikki, only because I think they have kind of a very similar vibe in a sense to the Miz and Morrison, where it's like they're friends and they're in it together.
Yeah.
Like last Raw episode, last Monday, Nikki and Billie Kay were fighting, and after Nikki lost, like you could see Alexa like comforting her and being like, it's okay, like don't worry. It's just very frustrating that you get to watch Sasha Banks, who seems to have so much talent, and then to watch something so flagrant tonight as Bayley shoving herself in the ring, shoving Sasha out to show her how to pin someone. Like,
yeah,
I don't know how much longer the writers are going to make me be like, tonight's the night when they break up.
If there's anything we've learned from WWE, it's that they love to drag things out way too long. We're probably not going to learn who crashed a car into Elias till July 2021.
Well, since I already know.
They're going to have some, like, Murder on the Orient Express kind of investigation going on that'll take a year.
Maybe it was Corbin.
No, I don't think it was Corbin.
He's bald. He could wear a red wig. Easy peasy.
He would want to crash into Elias with his car.
That's my logic. Back to this fight tonight. So, Alexa and Nikki lost their titles to Sasha and Bayley. And of course, Sasha and Bayley there's apparently no rules when they fight in the ring anymore. There were several moments where, you know, Bayley would be pinning someone and Sasha would just be suddenly in the ring. No one tagged her. Or rather Nikki would be pinning Bayley and like Sasha would just come in and like tackle. It's like, I can't deal with this any longer, and I am kind of getting a little tired of the fact that it seems like all of the women's wrestling storylines at this point, at least in SmackDown, are, oh, well, I don't want you sleeping with this man, so I'm gonna, scam you or something, or like, oh, these two girls are best friends, but they're fighting. It's like, I'm tired. I want them to have storylines. I want Sasha to be like, screw this. I'm out. I'm gonna go be my own person because I'm talented enough to be my own person. And we aren't getting that.
Well, we've got Charlotte Flair, who's got her own story.
I'm glad we have one person.
Becky
and
Lynch.
Rhea Ripley, I guess.
Asuka.
I do love Asuka. But yeah, I mean, I was so mad at that fight. I don't think... I personally am like just very tired of watching this happen over and over again since like Bayley and Sasha have had the same MO of like just like distraction tactics and breaking the rules when everyone else is like not breaking the rules,
Yeah. But yeah, shall we move on to figuring out what the fight of the night is?
Would you like to first discuss what you think your promo of the night was?
I think my promo of the night is The Miz and John Morrison pranking Braun Strowman.
Yeah, I agree with that. I mean, I don't know. Outside of maybe the Shorty G promo, I think Miz and John Morrison was the best executed, even though the green paint that they spill on Kayla looked like.
I mean, you could also consider AJ Styles and Daniel Bryan, their speeches being a promo.
Daniel's speech was really good, but I guess I still will stand by Miz and Morrison.
Yeah,
just because they're fools.
Yeah, I think we can agree on Miz and John Morrison and Braun Strowman's prank wars being the promo of the night.
Yeah.
This SmackDown. Now, fight of the night.
What would you say yours is?
Mine, I would have to say Drew Gulak versus AJ Styles.
That's definitely... I'm kind of tied on that one. I really enjoyed Sonya and Lacey. I really enjoyed the physicality, but I think it probably is tied with Drew and AJ. Mostly based on the fact that I really liked Sonya and Lacey's fight for the physicality and for the fact that nothing really seemed very like fakey.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the beauty of Drew's fighting style is that it's very contact oriented. So because of his finishing move and because there was not a ref screaming in pain, I would definitely say that I will agree that might be one of my favorite matches from tonight.
Can I argue my point a little bit?
Sure.
The whole Lacey and Sonya fight has such a poor motivation to it. It has a poor lead-in, and it has no out. The AJ Styles Drew Gulak fight, the backstory or like the lead-up is Daniel Bryan and his strive to victory, and being coached by Drew Gulak, and AJ Styles, who has his entitlement for the championship, but also thinking that Drew Gulak was handed the opportunity to coach Daniel Bryan, and so his ego got the best of him and wanted to challenge Drew Gulak, but That didn't go so well, and now that's leading us into this event where it seems like anything can happen. If AJ Styles lost, that would be kind of big for his character. After you have him lose to Drew Gulak, have him lose to Daniel Bryan, it's like, I don't know. It's not really a shock in any way to us as an audience. I feel like they might have him win. Although it would be devastating to Daniel Bryan, to the audience, having AJ Styles lose twice in a row as the underdog.
I was on board with you for most of that.
They're setting up AJ Styles to be an underdog, is what I'm saying.
I get that, but when you consider, if you go all the way back to the fact that Daniel fought Sammy for the title and lost, the fact that now he has a second chance, I think, makes him more viable as a winner. Because he's already tried for this before. And he hasn't really fought AJ before for it.
Yeah.
You know, he's beaten a lot of people for it, and I think Daniel Bryan deserves the payoff, and I think that the WWE will see that.
But,
I think the writers will see that.
But also, who is AJ Styles beaten? He beat Shinsuke during the... Huh?
I said, who has AJ Styles beaten?
He beat Shinsuke, and that's it.
Oh, it?
Yeah. He's got to beat somebody.
I feel like I'm remembering a fight that he was in recently that I...
Money in the Bank.
Was that on?
Yeah, he was in Money in the Bank, because that was right after his return. He came back, went on Money in the Bank, after, like, who did he beat? Like, Humberto or Andrade or something?
But he beat Humberto.
Yeah, he qualified very stupidly, coming in at, like, the last second to pin.
Like, Humberto had taken on, like, 14 different guys.
Yeah. And so, at Money in the Bank, he got pinned under a weight. He got the briefcase thrown out of his hands into Otis. So he's been screwed over a lot lately, and I think that they're gonna make this either his last fall or what brings him back up to make him the heel of SmackDown.
Unless he reveals that he was the one who framed Mr. Hardy and then loses, because now he's a massive heel. He's got a thing with Jeff Hardy. He's got a thing with Sheamus because he screwed over Sheamus and he liked Jeff Hardy. And he's lost the Intercontinental Championship and Money in the Bank. He's got so much to fight for, and Daniel Bryan gets what he deserves, which is a win.
Yeah, I mean, for a pay-per-view event, I think that's what they would go with, because I think they consider pay-per-view events to be, like, the be-all, end-all, like, this is where storylines wrap up, kind of.
Yeah.
So, it would make sense.
I'm curious to see what happens with Edge and Orton, because Edge hasn't been around at all.
Who won in WrestleMania? Edge?
Yeah.
I feel like Randy Orton's gonna win.
Yeah, he probably will. That's a podcast for another night.
So what are we saying is the fight of the night? Drew Gulak versus AJ Styles?
I will agree with you on Drew Gulak, because I wasn't really looking at the storyline per se. But yeah, I would say Drew Gulak. I think the entire fight and how nothing seemed very certain at first, all the way to the German suplex. Yeah. Yep. I'll vibe with that.
And it's a shame, because the women's tag team fight at the end was like the headlining fight for the night. But I feel like having Bayley cheat every single time makes her fight seem much and much worse.
And it sucks because I know for a fact both Bayley and Sasha Banks separately are amazing fighters.
Yeah.
I know that they're really awesome in the ring. It sucks that right now the writers are just making it so they're just kind of playing dirty and getting by on cheap tactics and fake drama, it seems. Mm-hmm. When I think they deserve at this point to go off on their own.
Yeah. I think Bayley needs to do some solo fights. She needs to...
Sasha.
Well, here's my thought process with Bayley. She needs to get her ass beat, basically. She needs to get her ass beat because she can't pull those same cheap tactics when she's alone. You know?
True. Okay.
She's gonna go up against like a Nia Jax or something, or Tamina. Because haven't they beaten Tamina every time?
They fought Tamina once. I don't remember the second time, but they've beaten Tamina. I know that much.
I think Tamina's gonna, when they separate, if they ever decide to, Tamina's gonna come in and just wanna whoop Bayley's ass.
If they don't separate within the next, I would say the next Smackdown, I'm gonna be really disappointed because I don't know how much longer they can really hold out on this. Considering, again, tonight, like the move that Bayley pulled by forcing Sasha out of the ring was so obviously disrespectful that I can't see Sasha's character going on this road much longer. I'm really, really hoping, and I kind of thought that was what was going to happen tonight. But I was really hoping that we were going to see a turn in a sense where all of a sudden Bayley and Sasha are fighting.
Yeah.
You know, I really want to see that because I think they need to have a Matt Riddle, Timothy Thatcher moment where it's like, I'm done. I'm out. We can fight later. That's it.
Yeah. But that's a prediction we got to make.
We'll probably be holding out on this one until at least the next Big Four pay-per-view event. So
yeah. So I guess is that all with this episode? We've got our fight of the night. We've got our promo of the night.
I think that's about it tonight. So yeah, tonight was another weird night. A lot of promos because obviously they're really gearing up for Backlash. I'm sure next SmackDown event is probably not going to be much different. But in the meantime, we have NXT TakeOver coming up next on Sunday. That starts at 7. We will be on after that ends. There's obviously no set time for the ending for that. It'll probably be around 10. But
do we maybe want to consider picking a fighter of the night?
Fighter of the night.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Since we're still under 2 hours right now for this podcast.
I mean,
I have a pick for fighter of the night. I don't know about you.
I'm biased, I think, for any of the people that I'm thinking of. But you tell me who you're thinking of, and I'll lay out my options.
You're going to hate it, but Shorty G. Shorty G just went off in his fight. I expected nothing from him, and I got everything from his kick-ass fighting style. He's the only fighter tonight that really surprised me.
I really do not like him. It's so hard for me to be like, I don't like this person, because like at the end of the day, like I'll watch an interview with them like outside of the ring later on, I'll be like, oh, they're a person. He's not my first pick. He definitely had a really great night tonight though. I think my first picks are biased.
Is it Lacey Evans and Sonya Deville?
No. Shockingly, no.
Who is it?
Okay, so I had 3 people come to mind. Obviously, watching Braun Strowman flip a truck was pretty...
He didn't fight, though. He didn't fight at all.
He flipped the entire van.
That's not... He didn't have a fight. He didn't have a build to fight.
The entire van.
Oh.
I did really like watching Sheamus's fight, even though that wasn't even a real fight. Just because Jeff Hardy suddenly didn't have gauges, and I was like, it's gonna happen. And watching him just, first of all, the brogue kick to Jeff Hardy's little chinny chin was, it's like the Claymore for SmackDown.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I'm here for that. I love seeing my dear United Kingdom men kicking people in the face. Everyone's in for a treat on Monday when I start talking about Drew McIntyre. But that being said, I really liked watching his fight. I really liked watching him just take hold of Jeff Hardy, because Jeff Hardy kind of beat the shit out of him the other night. But I was going to say Drew Gulak, because there were several moments in the fight with AJ Styles where I really thought, I don't think he's coming back from this. I think this is going to be like an embarrassing moment for Drew and Daniel.
Mm-hmm.
And then all of a sudden Drew just flipped things on its head, and I was like,
yeah. I mean, I guess I should go more towards Drew Gulak, since Shorty G didn't really, like, he didn't pin anybody. He didn't win the fight. Yeah, Drew is definitely the most critical between the two.
For anyone watching, I think it's very apparent that Mark and I have a strong favoring towards Mr. Gulak.
Drew Gulak
We both love him so much.
He's probably my favorite wrestler at this point.
He and Daniel, at least for SmackDown, the technical style is very enjoyable to watch, and it makes you feel like you're watching genuine wrestling.
Yeah.
But I think Drew is probably the fighter of the night for me, because, he's out there on his own. He can't tag anyone in. All he's got is, like, the support of his dearest friend.
Yeah. I'll agree with you.
Because he hasn't had a lot of, like, moments prior to that, because he was out at the Rumble pretty quickly.
Mm-hmm.
But he hasn't had many nights recently where he was the one to go out there and with his own strength defeat someone. And I think that's why I really liked him tonight.
All right, so we've got our promo of the night, which is The Miz and John Morrison pranking Braun Strowman. We've got our fight of the night, which was Drew Gulak versus AJ Styles. And we've got our fighter of the night, which is Drew Gulak.
Yay, Drew Gulak, he wins. So we have on Sunday, probably starting around 10, I would guess. I don't think NXT TakeOver is going to be that long. And since it's normally 2 hours, I would imagine it's going to probably be 3 for the TakeOver, maybe 4. After that, where I will probably end up talking for a very long time, which I probably have already done tonight. But that being said, we have NXT TakeOver on Sunday. We will obviously keep everyone updated via our individual Twitters when that's going to start. And maybe we can even try to live tweet some stuff just to keep people in the know as like, oh, this is about to end, in case you aren't actually watching. So, yeah, NXT TakeOver Sunday, probably around 10 or 11 we'll be on, talking about whatever happens, and hopefully we're going to be talking about Velveteen Dream losing.
And the VOD for this podcast will be up on YouTube. Search the Pinfall Podcast on YouTube. And my Twitter is... What is my Twitter? Mark Milkdud. M-A-R-C Milkdud.
Oh.
Yeah, what's your Twitter?
You don't mind?
Yeah. No, we're good. All right, everyone have a good night. Bye.
My Twitter is Eliza Elaine 23.
Isn't it just 3?
I think.
I think it's just
go
Eliza
to the phone
Elaine
machine
3.
real quick. What do you think it is? Let's make a bet.
I'll bet $10 that it's Eliza Elaine 3 because I added you twice today.
Sweet boy, you owe me $10. It's Eliza Elaine 23. ELIZAELAINE 23. And if you think about following me, you might be SOL because I am on private. But yeah, I'll check it out. I'll look at my follow requests.
I'm cutting this part out of the VOD, just so you know.
That's totally fair. All right. To anyone who tuned in, to anyone who watches this on YouTube, assuming this part isn't also cut out, thank you. I don't know if anyone actually did tune in, and that's fine because I have no way to know, and I'm just gonna pretend that everyone tuned in. So thank you so much for watching, and get ready to watch this every Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and sometimes Sundays, depending on what events come up. And definitely the next 2 Sundays, because we will definitely be here.
Have a good night, everybody. We'll see you Sunday.